Hi y'all, this is Chef Megan with the Edible Schoolyard New Orleans. Today we are gonna make an old Monday favorite here in New Orleans. We are gonna make red beans and rice. So the way that we are gonna do this today though is it's kind of gonna be like a two-stage process. I'm gonna show you what we would do in class with a chef's knife in order to prepare our vegetables and our sausage for the younger kids to use a butter knife. So if you have an older kid at home or if you are a middle schooler, you're going to be following this part, and then the little kids in your family are going to be using this. Okay, for our red beans and rice, the ingredients that we need to chop today are right in front of me. We have andouille sausage, we have garlic, celery, a bell pepper, and an onion. Now, just a little aside, the bell pepper, onion, and celery, as a lot of y'all probably know, is called the Trinity. It is in almost all of our New Orleans Cajun Creole cooking. So we're gonna start with that. I'm gonna set these aside. So if we are an adult or a middle schooler, we're just gonna we're gonna start with the celery, and we're gonna kind of cut off these kind of yucky ends. And then if I had a younger kid at home, a third, fourth grader, a second, or even a second or first grader, I would cut these celery into long strips and then cut them again. Same thing with this guy. So these are going to be a lot easier for your little guy to cut with that butter knife or even with a plastic knife if you have one. So now we have our celery prepped for the little guys. Next, with the bell pepper, I'm just going to cut it in half, scoop out those insides. We don't want the seeds or the white part, it's bitter, so we want to make sure we get that out. And then the same thing, we're going to cut these bell peppers into strips. Now, this is where it's really awesome to have a little kid to hang out with because they can help you with all this chopping. So I'm going to put these strips to the side. If you do have a little kid there with you, they can get started on this celery. But since I don't, I'm going to get all my Trinity cut into strips, and then we'll come back. And then the last part of our Trinity, the onion, I'm going to cut off the end that does not have hair. And that's just a matter of habit for me. It doesn't matter too much since we're getting it ready for the little guys to chop. So we're going to chop it down the middle, take this peel off of both sides. Okay. And then same thing, we basically want strips. So you can cut off this end too, actually. And then what I always do is just kind of go around. And you want to keep them pretty thin, otherwise you're going to have pretty big chunks of dices of onion in your red beans. But you know what? It's also going to get cooked down. So a big dice is not going to be the worst thing in the world. All right. Continue with this one. All right. Now that is going to keep our little guys busy for a while. And if I want to get all my prep done for the little guys, I would also take my garlic, kind of split it apart. But I'm going to show you a couple things that the kids can do to help get those smashed. So we'll just use about 3 of those. And then with this andouille sausage, and I'm using the same cutting board. You may want to use separate cutting boards or finish all your veggies and then do your sausage. But I'm just going to keep everything separate here. So what I would do if I was doing sausage, which we would do with probably third graders, I don't think we would really do with anyone younger than that. I actually cut it first into quarters. One, so it's easier for the little guys to cut. And two, when you're cooking for a crowd, which you may be, and we always are in the kitchen class, the more little pieces of sausage, the better, so that the kids aren't counting their sausage pieces and making sure that everyone has the same amount, because everyone gets a little bit more if there's more little pieces. All right, so now we're ready to show you what the kids can do. Okay, so now I have my butter knife because I am a first grader, second grader, all the way up to a fourth grader, and I'm gonna start working on my Trinity. I'm not gonna cut all of this for y'all right now, but I just wanted to show you how each one looks. So younger kids can definitely just start one at a time, cutting into little dices with their dinner knife, butter knife. As kids get older, and they definitely love doing this, they can, gather 2 or 3 pieces of celery together and chop, chop, chop. All right, same thing with bell peppers. One thing to watch for, sometimes kids will cut like this, and then you still have your whole pepper stuck together. So make sure they turn it on the side, or just make sure they're going all the way through. It's really good practice. And then our onions, just grab a few pieces, and we're gonna dice those too. And this is often where kids get the experience of crying from an onion for the first time. So if that happens, if it gets a little intense, they can wash their hands and wash their cutting board, and maybe an adult can finish that off. Now for our garlic, what we sometimes do is put the garlic under the cutting board and have the kids smash it. It depends on how heavy duty your cutting board is, though. This is super heavy duty, so that is not a problem. Our cutting boards at school are not that thick, and so we stopped doing that because it really was not good for the board. Another thing you could do is just try and use your dinner knife to kind of smash it. If you have like a mortar and pestle, you could smash it. If not, just do it yourself. And mincing, okay, it's not that satisfying with a butter knife, but it can be done. And so why not let your little kids try it? And then you can always go, if you're ending up with like big pieces like this, you can always go back over and just mince it yourself. So we're gonna put our garlic aside. That's how we do that one. And then your sausage, again, use a separate cutting board. I'm just keeping everything separate here. Make sure your kids wash your hands before and after, although this sausage is cooked, so it's kind of less of a risk. And then we're just gonna chop that into dices. Okay, so I have finished up all my mise en place, which is all the prep that we need to do. So we have our Trinity, our bell pepper, celery, onion, garlic, our sausages all chopped up. We're also going to need a couple of bay leaves, which are going to add a little depth of flavor. Some Creole spice mix, which I already made in another video this morning, and so I'll link this video next to this one. You can use chicken stock. I'm just going to use bouillon, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And then, of course, we need our red beans. And these are mine. They were dried red beans. They've been soaking overnight. You can definitely use canned red beans for this recipe. It is easy. It is fast. You can keep them on your shelf and have them ready at any time. That's probably what we'd use at school because it's a lot faster. Okay, so I drained my red beans over there so they're ready to go when we are ready. I'm using this big old pot, but if you just have a smaller stock pot, I think that'll be okay. Just thought this might be easier for y'all to see what's going on. So I'm gonna add a little bit of oil to my pot. You can use olive oil, vegetable oil, whatever you have on hand. let that heat up for a little bit, and then we are gonna add our Trinity. So what again is the Trinity? I don't know if y'all remember. It is our celery, our onion, and our bell peppers. And like I said, that is used in a lot of New Orleans cooking. It was kind of derived from the French mirepoix, which is onions, celery, and carrots. But when the French Canadians and the French came to New Orleans, bell peppers were much easier to find, to grow, and so the bell peppers replaced the carrots. So now we have the Trinity. So we're gonna put all of our Trinity in here. And stir it around. And we make dishes like jambalaya, gumbo, maybe red beans with our third graders because it's the first year that they are able to come on the stove. And I have learned a lot about cooking from my kids. And one thing I have learned is that seasoning, do not be afraid of it. The more seasoning, the better. So here is this seasoning that we made earlier. It is spicy, so you want to be a little careful. But if we were up here with the kids cooking, in order for everyone to get involved, everyone to have a turn, we would be doing a lot of spicing. So I'm just gonna take a little spoon and I'm gonna season our Trinity right now. All right, so our Trinity has been cooking for about 5 minutes. So it's softening up a little bit, getting just very, very slightly browned. Now we're gonna add the garlic. And remember, this can burn easily, so you want to stir it around, and we're going to cook that for about 30 seconds until you can really smell that garlic scent. We're also going to add our bay leaves at this time. And then we are going to add our sausage, and we're going to cook it for another 5 or so minutes until the sausage gets slightly browned. Okay, so my sausage is browning up, and as you can see, I'm gonna have some pretty meaty red beans and rice here. You don't even have to put sausage in it at all if you do not want to, or you can put a little bit, a lot, it's up to your taste. I'm gonna add a little more seasoning right now. And then this is where recipes could diverge. If you are using canned red beans, and your vegetables are soft, your sausage is browned, you can just add your canned red beans now, stir it up, you are good to go. However, if you are using dried beans like I am, right now we're gonna add our beans that I drank, put those in there, and then we're gonna add 2 to 2.5 quarts of chicken stock. And the way I'm gonna do that is I'm just gonna add 2.5 quarts of water, bring it up to a boil, and then I'm gonna add a couple scoops of bouillon. Or you could add a couple bouillon cubes. If you have chicken stock, you can use chicken stock. So like I said, it's about 2.5 quarts of chicken stock, and then we're gonna bring it up to a boil. So you do wanna make sure that your beans are covered by at least 1 inch of stock or water as I have, and now it is coming up to a boil, or as we say down here in New Orleans, burl. So I am going to add a couple scoops of this bouillon, if I can get it open here. All right, and then actually before I do that, I'm going to add a little more seasoning, and then I'm going to add a couple scoops of this bouillon. We're gonna stir it around, bring it back up to that boil, and then we're gonna turn down the heat and let it simmer for probably 2 hours. All right, y'all, it's been a couple of hours and these red beans are looking really yummy. They smell really good too. I already started doing this, but what you want to do is take about 1/4 of the beans and start smashing them on the side of the pot. That's gonna let this thicken up a little bit, but like I said, I already did that. So what I'm gonna do is just taste my beans, get a bite with sausage in there, and just see if it needs more seasoning. So I think it could use a little bit more of this Creole seasoning. So I'm just gonna dump a little bit. And again, it's up to you on this. Stir it up, and then I'm just gonna let it cook just a little bit longer to kind of let those juices thicken up, and just to finish it off. So don't forget to take out your bay leaves so that no one is chewing on one of those. Make some rice, whether you have brown rice, white rice, whatever it is, and serve it on top, and you have a great dish. Thanks. I miss y'all a lot. We'll see y'all soon. Bye.